Folks, all right. Welcome in, folks. Come on in. We got to bring you guys this video. Folks, Black people are actually waking up. All right. Sound off in the chat. Let us know what you think are you seeing this? Are you seeing this in your communities? Are you seeing this online? I think slowly but surely we're seeing how, or at least the Black community is seeing how leftism has taken over the Democrat Party. And the platform has, the Democrat platform has led the Black community into lawlessness and chaos. Okay. And now they're connecting the dots on how biblical values they do not align at all with anything in the Democrat Party of today. Okay. You got to watch this Black father and what he says. Okay.
Did y'all see this young 15-year-old Black kid shot point blank in New York? Fatherless kids all around. You can tell all these kids around them sitting there watching, ain't got no daddies at home. It's disgusting, man. The way that this entire nation has turned, these fatherless kids are harassing the streets. I go into the courtrooms every week and see these kids. You look across, ain't no daddies in there. 1 out of 20 may have a daddy in the courtroom, where these kids are the ones out violating our communities in our neighborhood, and almost all of them are Black. Mm-hmm. But then we want to talk about all these social justice issues and these issues and that issues. The issue is we ain't got Black daddies in the house.
Nope.
And this is a problem that we need to try to fix as Black men. We are letting our own communities and our country down. We're a disgrace to the world. Disgrace to the world. 70% of our kids ain't got no mom and daddy together in the house with them raising them. And we don't think that's a problem. It's biblical. The last verse of the Old Testament. He shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse.
Woo!
The curse that we're seeing right now is that curse, the fatherlessness curse. When you have people having babies and they don't take care of their kids, and their kids go out there and harass the streets, it's a problem. You turn on a video, you see these kids walking around slapping old people, disrespecting old people. Look how they talk. I bring these young kids into our center. Every other word come out their mouth is a cuss word. Every other word. 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. They can care less if they're around an adult or anybody else.
Wow.
Man, we got real problems on our hands. It's getting worse and worse because we're getting woker and more woke and more woke and more woke. We want to be victims. You ain't a victim. If you live in the United States of America, you are not a victim.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to break the news to you. This is the greatest country on earth. That's why people are lining up to come over here. And we need to start teaching these Black kids. They need to respect this country, respect their communities, and go in these schools and start respecting these teachers. That's why you can't get no good teachers these days, because they scared to say anything to these bad kids. They need to start whooping their butts again, man. It's unbelievable. Enough is enough. Black men, we got to do better. All the talk, all this, we want our athletes, entertainers, all these ain't doing nothing, man. Going into the communities to help the kids that need it the most vulnerable kids that's out here harassing our streets. God bless you.
Wow. All right. Michelle, what do you think?
Man, he could say that again. He could take that on tour. He could hit the road with it. And please go to the HBCUs, go to the churches, do that part. Because unfortunately, those are like the epicenters that don't believe this is happening. And the facts are the facts are the facts. I saw so many clips of what he is referring to, young Black men harassing the homeless. Just, it's a gang mentality.
Right.
But unfortunately, if the wrong people call it out, they're called racist, even if they're Black. If I call it out, then, heaven forbid I say something because my husband's white or because I'm mixed. So all of a sudden I can't talk about what we see, what's plain as day. What's a reality? No. So I love that it has to come from a variety of people, but I love that it's coming from strong Black men, from men that are Christian, from men that are in their households that are finally telling the truth. Thank you.
Absolutely. And folks, The only reason we don't generally talk about this type of stuff in racial terms, the reason why we're doing it in this context is because the Black community or Black folks vote for Democrats 90% or over 90% of the time. Okay. So when you look at that and then you look at the shape of our communities, there's a problem here. There's a problem. Okay. We got to stop this. And it starts with men. All right. I love that that was a Black father. I love it. Okay. Because as much as they try, the Democrat Party, as much as they try to put Black women on pedestals, platforming them, you know, what's the shirt that Roland Martin used to wear? Something about a Black woman, something about a Black woman is everything, folks. What is it's if anybody in the chat remembers what he used to say about a Black woman or something like that, leads or whatever. As much as they try to say that, it is a lie. It is a lie, and it doesn't work. It's out of order. It is out of order. Now, I am not saying that Black women can't lead, you know, companies and things like that. But when we're talking about this from a macro level, when we have Black women leading homes, communities, churches, and that's the majority, that is out of order. It's not biblical. And this is one of the reasons why we have issues in our community. All right. And so it's going to take Black men to take the reins. Simple as that.
And KJ, to add to that, it's any woman. KJ and I, this is Christian conservative. We do not believe that any women, we are strong women that lead. It's just, there is an order to all things, regardless of race. So if you catch this one clip and you try to say, oh, they're trying to talk about Black. No, this is not about Black women. This is really about the order that God put in place for all women with husbands, right? His master plan, his plan. And I love that he talked about the curse, brought it back biblically. Can we find that verse, that exact verse that he was calling? I meant to write it down and I don't even have my notebook. Guys, there are curses. Unfortunately, you don't have to believe in them. This is not some kind of witchcraft. This is God saying, and this will happen. I got in a conversation with my son because he just turned 18 this week. So when he was 17, when he was 17, just day before yesterday, right, I had a conversation with him. And I said, when you say something that's disrespectful, I need to take you back to God's original promises. What are his promises? They come with blessings. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land the Lord thy God giveth thee. So we broke it down what the blessing was. If you do this, then God will do that. And there are curses that do the same. And we are seeing that. And he said something like 70% of and I'm not sure, I'm not going to quote that, but the numbers statistically are very similar that I've looked at. How many Black families are married, same spouse, have the children, raise them all the way, through adulthood. Our numbers have gotten dramatically worse, really, since the civil rights movement.
Of course.
That's
yes. And not only that, but this racial idolatry. We had a Republican happy hour this weekend in Baltimore City. And of course, it's open to anyone. Well, one of the people who came was this guy. He was a Democrat running for school board, one of the school board positions in Baltimore City. Initially, he was all right. He was speaking with some sense and generalizations and things like that. But then he started to take a turn when he started focusing on everything Black, and then he started talking about the victim. He started pushing the whole victim mentality and how Black people are victims, and he started talking about slavery and Jim Crow and all this type of stuff. And I said to him, can you speak to me in terms outside of race? Can you talk to us about issues? These issues affect me. It doesn't matter my race, okay? And he was like, no. He said, no, I can't do that because I believe I'm pro-black. I'm black first. And I said, okay. I said, but what has that gotten us when the city is
Yeah.
already run predominantly by black people? Okay, we haven't seen any gains because of that. All right. And another thing, as we mentioned, the Democrat Party, black folks predominantly vote Democrat. I don't agree with the Democrat Party. So
Nope.
what are you saying? I mean, why can't you speak to me as an individual who cares about education, who cares about low taxes, who cares about getting crime down, things like outside of the racial component? He couldn't do it and he didn't want to do
He
it.
didn't want to. It's not that he can't. They're not incapable. They don't want to.
Nope.
And somebody asked, what district am I running in? I have my Talkington for Congress shirt on. And that because, yeah, I am running. I was out there doing all kinds of stuff today, yesterday. And I've had those same conversations, KJ, and it drives me crazy. And I say, the bottom line is money doesn't care what color you are. The gas is the gas price, no matter where you are, black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. So you're right, KJ. Talk to me about issues that matter. But that's that grift. That's the Democrat Party. That's what they latched onto. That's how they keep the votes intact, is they've convinced you that it has to start there. And they've convinced you, even if you are a pastor, a preacher, a person of God, that it starts there. Right. I am a Christian first. I don't ever say I am a color first. I say I'm a Christian first. I believe in God first, right? And then you can go down the line. I'm a mom, I'm a sister, all the things that you want to say. And obviously we have tans. We're not denying what we are. That's just not our identity. Not in politics. Of course it comes up, but it's getting old. And then where's the substance?
Right.
Where's what matters? So how do you change, back to the clip that we just saw, how do you change the lives of that 70% group of young men and women? Because these are young men that are really, that he's focusing on, but there are young women that are roaming around like gangs of thugs.
Right.
And you can see those same ones breaking into stores, robbing and looting and laughing and doing their video, jumping girls, other girls, or men. I mean, it is out of control. It is violent. It is sad. And then where do they end up? And you have the woke judges that keep letting them back out on the streets. I got a young person in our community right now where I live that are doing all kinds of wild, just disturbing things. And they have a rap sheet. And somehow they keep getting let out. And we're thinking, why are you letting them terrorize the community because they're 16, 17, 18, 19? Now they're adults. Where are the consequences? It's too much. And biblically, this is going to lead to the downfall of the same community who wants to say, because I'm black, I need extra XYZ.
Right. We got to push back. We got to push back against it, folks. And this is what we do here. This is what we do on Christian Conservatives. You're just coming in, hit that like button for us, folks. Come on in, hit that like button and subscribe. All right. Across time zones and platforms, this is Christian Conservative, your trusted source for bold, unfiltered news and analysis on the issues that matter most to Christian conservatives. I'm KJ, along with Michelle Talkington.
Hey guys, good to be here. And I shout out to Kung Fu CJ, our first super chat of the night, $2 super chat. Let's go, ladies. To God be the glory. Amen. I love it every time he comes in with that, because that is why we're here. And that's why that clip is important, why we do what we do. It is for God. It's to be a voice, or a voice of reason, or to stand up and say it's okay to be Christian, it's okay to be conservative, or it's just okay to have the conversations that the left wants to silence. They want us quiet. They want this man quiet. And praise God for those like him who, already have good standing, or they have a name for themselves. So you're not gonna silence them. Just like you're not gonna silence us here.
Absolutely. That is right, folks. Again, from faith and family to politics and culture, we tackle the hard truth and stand firm on biblical principles. Join us as we expose the lies, defend our values, and fight for truth in a world that desperately needs it. All right. Again, as you come in, your super chats go a long way in keeping us online. We do not have sponsors yet. I met somebody. I'm gonna tell you about this, Michelle. I met somebody over the weekend that wants to advertise with us. He is a Christian. He has a Christian company. So we may be bringing you all some good Christian businesses that to support. That's what it's all about. We got to start supporting one another, people who share values, share faith. It's a great way. That's a good thing to do to grow these communities. So we may have a sponsor, advertiser for the show that wants to do that. All right. So, but until then, your super chats really help us as well. They help us put out this content, and we appreciate the support. Okay, so moving right along, folks. You know, we wanted to bring you that dad, that Black father who's just saying he's tired. He's tired of the Democrat Party. His Christian values, his biblical values are telling him this woke crap is not good. It's not biblical. All right. But there's more to it. All right. So outside of him, there's another gentleman, a young guy, a young man who went viral last week for standing up for his Christian values. We're talking about Marco Hunter-Lopez. All right. He's a 16-year-old sophomore at Wiley East High School in Wiley, Texas. All right. This is near Dallas. Okay. He founded the Wiley ISD Republican Student Club as a freshman, and he recently testified before the House Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution and Limited Government. He did this on May 13th, so just a couple days ago. And he was talking about what happened at his school. So in February, during a lunch, an unapproved outside group called Why Islam, all right, now they've been found to be linked to organizations like CARE, ICNA, and the Muslim Brotherhood. They set up a booth labeled Islam in the school cafeteria, all right? 4 adult women were distributing Qurans, okay, and conversion cards to the students in the cafeteria. One of the pamphlets that they sent out said, "Understanding the Sharia." This is in the United States, folks, okay, at a public high school. Yeah. Administrators were present, but didn't do anything. All right. And so Marco and his friends approached to discuss theology, and they raised concerns. And he shared a video of what happened that went viral. Okay. Take a look at this clip here. He's explaining what happened. I actually have it. 1 second. All right. This is crazy. This is insane. Okay, here we go. Take a look at this.
Is that the Quran they gave you?
This is the Quran from their booth. And I can show you the Shahada card in it.
Real fast, but I want hold that up again though. Hold up the Quran, just the Quran itself. I want everybody to see this is what is passed out in your child's public schools if you're in Wiley ISD. This is what is material that is given to your child in a public school. Behold. Go ahead, show me the Shahada card because this blew me away. And I'm going to zoom in on it after you show it to us. Go ahead.
This is the card that they want you to recite to become Muslim. Bear witness to Muhammad and this proclamation.
Let me show people that. I'm going to pull it up on my outfit here. So there it is. There's the Shahada card, and it says right there. I just got my. Here we go. I got my my contacts put into first time ever I get contacts in, so I'm struggling a little bit. But it says, "I bear witness that there is no God, which Allah is a false god. No God worthy of worship except God. I bear witness that Muhammad was the messenger of God." That is what you are being taught. That is what is allowed. That is what is being passed out, that you will worship this God. And this God is great. And
Okay. So first, I want to get there's more to this, folks. So stick with us. We're going to go through what actually happened. Michelle, what are your thoughts on that? In school, passing out the Quran, promoting Sharia law in Dallas, Texas.
All of it. The entire thing is beyond outrageous. We should all be livid. Everybody should be livid. Clearly, they don't care about what happened 9/11. Apparently, it's a myth at this point. What are we doing? I will be, again, this is Christian conservative, but I'll be danged if that happened to one of my children and they read that out loud. Do you realize, to me, that's like witchcraft. You are reading spells out loud as far as I'm concerned. And you're putting that in the hands of children. You're letting this club set up shop. They would have a whole fit.
And they wouldn't let you do it if you were Christian. Absolutely they raise holy hell if you even pray in school in these days.
You wouldn't even be able to have one Bible and read from it. They would confiscate your Bible in these schools. And here they are handing out this false doctrine and passing it out like it's the next good news. And that just shows where we're at. It's just wicked. It is wrong. And it's an agenda. But guys, Texas?
Right.
Again, these are the places we thought wouldn't fall. This is remember the Alamo. And here we are. They are coming for the strongholds that they know are Christian faith-based strongholds. They are coming for those communities first, those that are the most American or that we see as the most Christian, the most wild, wild west, you name it. That's where they're coming from. Because if they can take those down first, the rest of us are just fodder. The rest of us are easy pickings. So they think, but no, this is outrageous.
Yeah, it really is. All right. So there's two things going on here. So that happened. And then Marco's Republican Student Club, which met all the requirements, and everything, they tried to not let him host this club. So in August of 2024, he faced delays, denial for being political in nature. He had put posters up. They removed all of that. Okay. So he's having issues with this Republican club. And then fast forward to this whole thing with this Qurans being passed out. So not only were there teachers that participated, the principal also participated in this. They during a World Hijab Day. All right, this is what it occurred. The principal wore the hijabs. The school served halal meals. Had prayer rooms, and again, as we mentioned, we're passing out Qurans. All right. So what happened is Marco documented the unequal treatment, and he felt that this was wrong, and he was called in to testify before Congress about this. Take a look here. This is clip 1.
Can you tell us what are the requirements to create a student club at your school?
The requirements are to have 10 members, a teacher that's willing to sponsor, and a room to meet.
And did the Republican club that you formed meet those requirements?
We did on day 1.
They did. And was your club allowed to be created?
No, we were actually notified that we were denied due to political nature, even though other ideological groups, including groups promoting gender-affirming ideology, were approved.
Why do you think the school had such a sort of obvious double standard?
I'm not sure if it's the educational establishment. It could be any of those. It could be the principals that have been in the system for a while. They just don't want conservative values. I think it's a trend we've seen with, how Charlie Kirk was on campuses and on high school campuses. I think that they think conservative values are a threat because they're true.
And how has the school administration either encouraged or supported World Hijab Day?
Our principal actually wore the hijab 2 years in a row that we know of. It could be more. She's posted it, promoted on social media, saying she, quote, loved it, all caps. And they're just promoting these events like nothing, but our club, on the other hand, has to receive strict, first of all, we weren't approved in the first place, and then once we were the only club that couldn't have other privileges that other groups had, and they took down our posters. And so there's just a lot of things in this double standard, clearly, to favor the Islamic group.
Is it true that your school's libraries offer Islamic literature, like the Quran and other things?
Yes, so McMillan Junior High and Wiley ISD offers a Quran, but no Bible available.
But no Bible. So there's a Quran, but the Bible's not allowed.
Correct.
Is that true in multiple libraries?
From what I know, confirmed, it's McMillan Junior High is one that I know of. I can look at the other libraries and submit them to you if I find any other findings.
Okay. Have you talked to the school about why they would allow a Quran but not a Bible?
So I haven't, the principals actually run away from me and hide, so I can't have a discussion with my principals because I act like an adult and they act like children.
Yeah, well, you very much are acting like an adult. They probably don't want to be on the record with that policy, given how egregious it is. When clubs such as your sponsor visitors to come to the school and speak about club interests, whatever they are they subject to security screenings?
So when our club has guest speakers, including a state representative or a congressman, we have to submit 2 weeks in advance paperwork. We have to submit a week in advance background check. We have to submit their staff if they're coming. All these lengthy processes. I often have to miss my lunch period and skip lunch, skip a meal to fill these out. But on the other hand, the Islamic group got favorable treatment.
Okay, yeah. What were the security protocols that were in place for the Islamic group?
From what I know, none.
None.
From what I know.
So typically, you have to go through a lengthy background
Correct.
process, but this Islamic group didn't have to.
Correct. Obviously, they didn't background check, the organization because it has multiple terror links, and they didn't. I guess they didn't check the Sharia pamphlets that they gave us or the Qurans with the Shahada card. They hadn't. They didn't. They were perfectly fine with it because the principal was there that day, just looking at it, perfectly fine.
What's been the response from the school since you've been public and vocal about this double standard?
Like I said in my opening testimony, when my mom had requested the principal to email my teachers, because I had to miss school for the first day after that, and I had to go late the second day because of death threats and things like that. And my mom had.
Wow. So do you all understand the double standard that we're seeing here?
Yeah.
Do you understand it? Michelle, what are your thoughts here?
Again, everything in me is livid. When I watched this earlier, seeing these clips now, every single time, I am mad to the very fiber of my being. And I have to disagree. The young man is talking about he's not sure why these teachers are doing this. He thinks it's a trend. And I'm saying it's not a trend. This is by design.
Right.
It is absolutely by design. Obama designed this. And I know LJ is out there agreeing, and I see people going off in the super chat. When do you guys think this started? He made it. He wasn't even hiding it. All of these fellowships and partnerships and whatnot. This was by design. Taking it further left, you can get a Church of Satan club started in your school faster than you can get a Republican club here on the East Coast. And that's true because we had to look and see if we had any teachers willing to sponsor these clubs for Republican kids to get kids registered. There's Democrat clubs all over the place. Mm-hmm. These clubs, these Islamic, you could do everything else but be a Christian or be conservative or be Republican. Again, it's by design. Remove the real God because then you remove the real power, the real threat to the existence. And guys, I've got to tell you, this is not about just equality. Because the difference is Christians, when we had I don't know if you remember KJ praying at the pole. We used to pray outside of church. And I lived in Utah for high school and they had seminary classes. You could go and take a class and that was great. Or you go to Catholic school, pray, mass. There's all kinds of prayer, Christian prayer. And people say, well, you shouldn't be able to do that. No, the difference is that with Islam, Sharia is a law. It is a law that imposes itself, that supersedes what they see as even our Constitution. That's why it's dangerous right now in places like Texas and these whole epicenters. And it's happening in New York. It's happening in Michigan. When you see them and they're buying up all these houses, they're making community centers. They're imposing their own laws along with the Quran. It's not separate. And in the United States, you cannot have a separate constitution with separate laws and separate, punishments, separate judges. They didn't have entire courts for this. That's why this is dangerous, among other reasons.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. But we see this going on. I mean, goodness, it was in Texas where they were building that huge community of Islam for Muslims. I mean, this is what we're seeing more and more. And, again, groups like CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, and the ICNA. They are being pushed in the schools. All right. Curriculum guides softening on things like 9/11. All right. We're seeing this constantly. And so we're not surprised when you have these booths being pushed in the public schools. Then it's all part of DEI and the whole idea of this multiculturalism. This is what this is part of. All right. But what's happening is what they're pushing this multiculturalism while saying that Christianity and our founding is that we're all colonists. That's colonism. That's they put that with slavery. I'm sorry, colonialism. And they push that with slavery and things like that. So it's demonizing what our roots are, the founding of this country. Do you see that? Demonizing being white. Okay. They're demonizing that, but then they praise the multiculturalism, which includes Islam, Muslim, and then people coming from third world countries and other areas that are pretty much brown. That's what it is. That's what it's really about. If you want to get down to it, that's what it's really about. And in the same way, this is why it's so diabolical, this idea that everything should be viewed through the lens of race. It's not biblical. That is not biblical, okay? But they're doing it because they want to then bring in this idea of multiculturalism and these other religions. This is what it's about, folks. We got to wake up, get out your Bibles and start pushing it, and do not let them bully us.
Yeah.
Do not let them bully us when we want to pray, when we want to read our word. We should do it.
Amen to that, KJ. Yeah. We have backed down so much that this is how we allowed this to happen.
Right.
And we're still allowing it.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point is it going to be too late? You look at the UK, look at Australia, look at the streets of other countries. At what point are we already there? Because I would say we're at the tipping point. But again, this is why we also have fools in Congress who don't understand that we are a republic. That is what is saving us. Right. That we are a republic and not a democracy. That our Constitution is what protects us.
Right.
And so if you want to do away and get rid of everything and no religion whatsoever at schools, fine, so be it. But I don't like the schools the way they're set up anyways. I homeschool for a reason. Right. But if you want it all even, fine. Do not discriminate the way that they are doing against Christians. Yeah. And again, I just fundamentally, if you want to be Muslim, if you are Muslim, great, so be it. I will pray for you. I pray that you find Christ. And that's a whole different ball game. God bless you. And I love human beings. But you will not tell me that Sharia, that the Islamic law that follows and is mandated by your Quran, is something that I need to follow or respect. I don't respect it. I will never respect Sharia. And I'm saying that right now, publicly. Go ahead and clip it. Because what is in there is wicked. It is evil. It is, look at what it's doing to young girls and women. There are so many things we could spend an entire show on it. So good on this young man. I am so glad that he testified, because he's bringing out what we need to see. And that young people are noticing something isn't right. Because where were the adults in the room when these things were happening?
Oh, they were there, but this is what we're talking about.
Wearing hijabs.
Christian students faced all kinds of barriers to pray, to read the Bible, all this. They had cases where football coaches were trying to lead a prayer before a game and were ostracized and told not to do it. Okay. But then on the other hand, you see them setting up prayer rooms for Muslims. All right. You see them pushing out these clubs for Islamic clubs and handing out Sharia pamphlets, but you can't put the 10 commandments in a classroom. Come on, guys. Come on. We got to start speaking out against this. I am so fired up. I am, and I mean it, folks. We got to start pushing back against these people, against these leftists who want to take the country into chaos. Yeah. That's what they want to do. And then they try to twist things around and say, well, we're not a theocracy. We're not saying we're not trying to be a theocracy, all right? But we know about our founding. But take a look at this next clip. So this is Marco again, and he's going at it against Democrat Jamie Raskin. He's here in Maryland, all right? He's a congressman out of Maryland, and and the little 16-year-old boy humiliated this man so much so that Congressman Jamie Raskin, who should be ashamed of himself, was over talking the 16-year-old boy. He couldn't even finish his sentence. Take a look here. This is clip 3.
The first original 13 colonies that required a declaration of faith. So I'm not acknowledging that.
Oh, well, wait a second. Now you're traversing my territory now, Mr. Hunter-Lopez. You brought it up. Are you aware that the Constitution of the United States does not establish a religion? It forbids the establishment of religion. Are you aware that it doesn't mention God?
So the Declaration of Independence mentions God 4 times. But what I was going to say...
Is the Declaration of Independence law?
So Declaration of Independence was declaring our independence from the tyranny of England.
Yeah.
But
the
what I was trying to
Constitution's
finish
the governing
is
law.
that I'm not, suggesting that we need to go back to taking, tests or saying that you have to acknowledge.
Wait, do you know
religion.
that Thomas Jefferson was denounced as an infidel who wrote the Declaration of Independence because he didn't believe in the establishment of religion, and he and Madison were emphatic about separating church and state? That's the whole glory of our constitutional design in our history, that they rebelled against centuries of religious warfare between the Catholics and the Protestants and witchcraft trials, Inquisition, Holy Crusades. America proclaimed the separation of church and state, what Thomas Jefferson described in his famous letter to the Danbury Baptists as a wall of separation.
That was a letter, not a law.
Okay, so your position is that America is a theocracy?
You didn't let me finish my original statement, and I understand you have limited time, but what I was going to say is I'm not suggesting we need to go back to anything that's in writing, but what I am saying is we need to acknowledge...
Well, I think we should go back to something in writing. I think we should go back to the First Amendment.
Oh, yes, the Constitution,
yes.
Obviously, but what I'm saying is that, how I said original colonies were requiring declaration of faith to run for office. I'm not saying we have
That's why we have a First Amendment.
What I'm saying is that we do...
That's precisely why Jefferson wrote it.
We do need to acknowledge our Christian heritage in America. That's what I'm trying to...
You can acknowledge whatever heritage you want, but you can't impose an establishment of religion on other people. That's the greatness.
I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying we need to acknowledge our heritage. That's what I'm saying.
Well, everybody can acknowledge their own heritage. Do you agree with that?
American heritage, not just any heritage, is what I'm saying.
Oh, you don't think that you're allowed to acknowledge your Christian heritage or your Jewish heritage or your Muslim heritage?
I'm saying you members of Congress need to acknowledge American heritage.
Yes, indeed. And you know how we do that? By abiding by the Constitution of the United States, which is why that's exactly where I began. Ms. Tyler, what do you think about this?
Wow.
Disgraceful. Disgraceful, that senator. Was he a senator or a representative? I think
Congressman Raskin.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have all kinds of names for him in Maryland. Guys, then don't be fooled. Maryland does not intentionally vote this man in, but we are so corrupt in our voting system here in this state. I think this man, especially in his area, Montgomery County, keeps squeaking in with a number of votes that I would say are questionable. He is an embarrassment. He should be ashamed of himself, but he never will be. He doesn't understand the Constitution. That man is disgusting.
Creep, right, LJ? He's a creep. Talking to a young man and wouldn't even let him finish a thought, let alone a sentence. Didn't give him the respect to let him finish his sentence. Wow. All right.
Had this been a young man that was out there shooting up people, stabbing people, and came in with a sob story and been a different color, he would have been like, well, young man, I know that, he's probably gone through some things, and just let him talk. He just let him talk and be respectful. That's how disgraceful some of these congressmen on the left are. Yeah. Kung Fu CJ, I agree with the $2 super chat. He said it earlier, Michelle, you are correct. They hate us. And I would argue that even Raskin hates us. Those on the left that serve in Congress, there are so many of them and senators that actually hate us. They have disdain for the Constitution. They don't like it the way they make all of their money from having it there, right? They get all the federal dollars in to take care of their paychecks, but they despise us. They despise the nation as it is, and they despise the First Amendment. They don't really like it. That's why they tried so hard under the Biden administration to keep us quiet. That's why they docked so many of us. That's why he wouldn't let this young man get a word in edgewise. And Raskin, let's just be clear, America didn't proclaim the separation of church and state. What they did proclaim is that the government needs to know its place.
Right.
Just like
Absolutely. And you see how he tries to deceive, okay? The young man never ever said this is a theocracy. We are not saying this is a theocracy, okay? Nope. Our founders didn't want a theocracy. They wanted a republic. How about you never hear the Democrats correct on that. They always talking about democracy. They wanted a republic where kings, popes, tyrants couldn't force belief. We understand that. That's biblical liberty. It's actually what we believe in the Bible. Okay, we offer Christ. What's the song? We offer Christ to you, oh my brother. It's a offering. We, unlike other religions, are not forcing Christianity or the Bible on anyone. We understand that. However, what he was trying to say, that young man and Raskin would not let him finish. He said, acknowledge the founding and the Christian roots, our Christian roots. Okay. That's what he was saying. From 1774 to 1782, the Continental Congress, they issued at least 16 proclamations for national days of fasting, humiliation, and prayer. And they explicitly named Christ Jesus. Okay. March 16th, 1776 resolution, through the merits and mediation of Jesus Christ. Okay. You can't ignore that. No, we're not a theocracy, but these people based many of our laws, many of our founding was based on biblical principles. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And many of their town halls, the majority happened in churches.
Yes.
So they like to ignore that. They need to erase history, but they need to dominate the school system in order to erase history. They need to have organizations like the one we talked about the last podcast that donate to evil and the KKK. They need to have them write the curriculum so that they can change what our children know and understand of the founding fathers. They need to make sure you can't read original documents. I took my kids to the museum and we were reading, and it was in cursive. And so the kids were like, oh, wow, they could recognize it. I said, yeah, but unfortunately, your friends in regular school would not be able to read any of this because it's in cursive. And Raskin is the same. He would love for that kid not to know facts, but boy, did that young man, he knew what he was talking about. Do you see how quick he was to say how many times God was actually mentioned?
Right.
I was so proud by the congressman, but so proud of that young man. And we need to duplicate him by the thousands right now. This is a battleground. Kung Fu CJ with another $2 super chat. Yes, the kid ran circles around the prick. I agree. Yeah. Thank you, Kung Fu CJ. And yes, he was prepared. He was poised. The young man was not losing his temper. He was not getting frustrated, which is interesting because it looked like the congressman was. He didn't want to be shown up by a young man who was speaking the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to get back to the founding, most of the colonies, which now are states, they established churches or Christian moral requirements into the early 1800s. All right. John Adams, 1813 letter to Jefferson. And I quote, the general principles on which the fathers achieved independence were the only principles in which all those sects were united. The general principles of Christianity. Okay. So again, they did not establish a theocracy. We understand that. But they built a nation on the firm foundation of Judeo-Christian truth. All right. This is it. This is what they've done. This is all he was saying. Acknowledge that. And when he kept asking him, he was saying, acknowledge our American founding. And he was like, well, it can be Christian. It can be Jewish.
Your heritage.
Heritage, right.
Everybody can acknowledge their heritage.
No, there's no Islamic heritage in America. Am I wrong?
No, and so that's also a lie that they're putting in the minds of kids and young people, and not just kids. It's an entire cultural shift, as if, and you have people, congressmen saying, well, the Muslims helped to found the nation. Please tell me what ship, when they had their pilgrimage, when they came and hit Plymouth Rock, please tell me how many of them were Muslim, because they're trying to again rewrite American history.
Right.
It is a bold-faced lie. This whole mass immigration that happened, again, that the doors were open under Obama, and then when the doors were open, Joe Biden came and burned down the walls. You didn't need a door because he pushed down the walls, and he made sure tens of thousands, let's up it to millions, could get in. And then we see so many that we make some ridiculous assumptions that they were always here. Oh yeah, they're right here. They've always helped. They helped build the nation. But that's the same as, dumb AOC. I don't know if you guys saw her stupid last interview, and she talked about how, how Black people created, the party and democracy. This is what they do. They gaslight, they lie, they make a new history. They expect us to believe it, and it's nonsense. Call them out on it.
Yeah, it is. It's revisionist. That's what it is. It's revisionist history, okay? These claims of a multi-faith founding are revisionist history, all right? The primary evidence all throughout the books and notes and things like that show a Protestant Christian, all right? Protestant Christian. Now I'm telling you, I'm coming for don't want to be disrespectful, but Catholics, y'all need to hear this too. A Protestant Christian founding, all right? A Protestant Christian people, all right? The culture was that, and the moral foundation was that, all right? These other faiths have zero institutional presence or shaping influence in America. Now, that doesn't mean people can't live here of all faiths. You can practice all faiths. We can be friendly with all faiths, but acknowledge our history and don't try to push this other crap on us. Don't try to change it and push it in our school system and try to ignore and erase our founding. This is what I'm upset about. Let me calm down a little bit. Okay. But
we have the right to be angry. This is so ridiculous. And when we look at other countries, we don't expect the Chinese to say Genghis Khan was not ever a part of our nation. He's like responsible for a third of all Chinese people now. Like, they can literally DNA trace themselves back to that man. You don't get to erase it because you don't like it. You don't get to change it because you're not a part of it. That's what bothers me. Everybody doesn't have to be a part of this great nation and its founding. You don't have to all track your ancestry back. Be grateful for what we have. Right. Leave it at that. And the protections. And it goes back to the man that we had in the very first clip, where he said it's time for these young men, these fatherless children, to be grateful and respect this nation. Right. Respect where they live, because there are millions lining up and fighting to get into America. So respect it. Acknowledge it. Know it is what it is. And then get over it, and let's work on right now. But no, we gotta harp on the past, find all the bad things, and then come up with some kind of make-believe story like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in the land of make-believe of things that never happened.
Right. And folks, we got to get back to it, because many of the blessings on this nation came because we put God first. Yeah. We put God first. We put Jesus Christ first. We named him. I'm not talking about all the God of this Allah. I'm talking about Elohim, okay? God the Father through Jesus Christ. We put him first in this country from generations. And now they're trying to erase him, okay? And we are going to pay for it. There are consequences to that, folks. And there's consequences when Bible-believing Bible-believing people do not stand up for truth. Mm-hmm. This is what we talk about on here. We're not called to sit silent while they're trying to put everybody in hijabs or whatever it's called. We're called to correct the record, like that young man did before Congress. God bless him. And may God continue to protect him. Because as he mentioned, he's getting death threats now, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's the fact that the teachers there were wearing hijabs, like this is a thing. Let's just put them on. They're not going to put on a cross. In fact, they're going to make you take off your cross. They're going to make you take off your shirts that depict Jesus or depict the cross in Christianity. They'll have you get rid of that. But they will actually put and what about, I tell you what, I can just illustrate what would happen if I found out one of my daughters put on a hijab because a teacher or a friend or some booth said, you're going to look great in this. I would come down, and I've threatened my neighborhood with this. I would come down with an entire super soaker in holy water, and I would go off speaking in tongues and probably cussing people out at the same time. It would not end well if I found out that you put that on my child or let them have that. This is some kind of dress up. That's not dress up.
Right.
I don't think they understand that. And of course, the teachers clearly don't, because they think this is some type of game to pander to the left. But that's what happens when you let the public schools and these, school where you let it get out of control. That is where we're at as a nation. I'm not doing it. You're not putting that on my children. You had no right to do that to other people's children. We are wrestling not against flesh and blood. This is principalities, Christians. This is Christian conservative, so let's call it out. These are principalities, and they're running rampant in your schools, and their goal is your children.
Yeah, yeah.
And where are the feminists? Where are the radical feminists? The ones that want boys in girls' bathrooms, but they want the girls to think it's okay to be forced to wear the hijab and all the things that come after it. Really? Really? You want to force the girls to wear that and cover their heads because what? Why don't you read the little book that they were giving out then? You grown stupid people.
Because it's that is a good point. Why are they going for this? Why? I want to really think about that. Why are the feminists going along with this? And the only thing I can think of is they are so blinded by this idea of hate for traditional values, traditional colonialism, because the left has really done a great job, actually, of coining this idea that America was founded by white colonialists,
colonizers.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry, white colonizers, and white colonizers were Christian. That means they were, and then they demonize that and demonize everything through race.
Yeah.
Now they're seeing this feminism when they're bringing the feminism in. And they're seeing that these Muslims are wearing the hijabs and things like that. I don't know. You understand what I'm trying to say? So they don't see that this is actually against what you used to stand up for in feminism. All they see are brown people are doing this. So that means it's correct. That's what I think it is. It's the colorism thing about it.
I said what I said. It's a bunch of stupid people. I saw a clip, and there was a gentleman talking about, I can tell that I'm talking to some No Child Left Behind Act students, right? And that came out a long time ago, and under George Bush, I've written against it. I think that was the ultimate downfall. That was that linchpin. There was everything. So we already had this national education system set up just prior. We had No Child Left Behind, which literally wiped out children. They are all left behind. This is what we have left. We have people that have grown up. They weren't held back when they should have been held back. They weren't forced to, like I said, read in cursive, read the founding documents. They changed the classes. You're no longer forced to understand our history. So KJ, they're intentionally ignorant. They are all about social issues, any social issues. And unfortunately, they put them in the same box. Social issues here, let's highlight them. The reality is those of us who actually know our history and understand and have common sense, we're saying, no, if you focus over here on all these social issues and you put them in the same box, that is our doom. The nation is done for, because at the end of the day, Islam is not compatible with LGBTQ. Right. It is not. Ultimately, you put them all in the same category because you thought somehow they were some underserved class. Just wait, because one of them will reign supreme and the others will be slaughtered. And I mean that literally. You can go overseas and see that. This is why there are other nations who are closer to radical Islamic nations, and they do not allow them to come over. They don't give them the benefits that we have, that we give them. China is not so friendly to those who come from Islam or Islamic nations. Now they'll deal with them with trade, but they're not going to let them come over and start up these cities. That's never going to happen. There are reasons for this. And again, they don't know because they put them in a great big brown, tan, other box.
Right.
They can grift off to keep that percentage of voters to keep in power or to make themselves feel better, like they're helping. Again, I see, remember when Nancy Pelosi and all the congressmen, they put in all their African garb.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, that's from Jamaica. I was like, that's Nigerian. You start looking at what they were putting on. They didn't know and they didn't care. They just went to whatever shop they got it from on the mall, or they ordered from Amazon and thought they were doing something. They were making a statement. The statement is, you are so dumb.
Right.
This
Folks, we got almost, right. We have almost 100 people watching. We want to get those likes up. So please, as you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get the video out in front of a wider audience, and we appreciate your support. All right. We want to bring you another part of this interview. This is actually a recent interview with Marco Hunter-Lopez, where he responds to Jamie Raskin for cutting him off so many times. And he actually is able to articulate what he was trying to say, but he was being cut off by Congressman Raskin. Take a look here. This is clip 4.
Moment to describe exactly what it is you were saying when you weren't being interrupted by Congressman Raskin, that the American heritage of what should be acknowledged.
Correct. I was just trying to explain to him that he kept referring it to secular law, and he can refer to it as what he wants it, but I was trying to explain that America was founded on Christian values, on Judeo-Christian values, and our founding documents are listed from the Bible, is what I was trying to get across to him.
And I'm surprised to hear a congressman be so aggressive with a 16-year-old. Now, you were a witness there in Congress, and tell us why you were a witness, by the way. What happened at your school in Wiley, Texas?
So on February 2nd of this year, an organization, Why Islam, was on my campus distributing pamphlets on Sharia law, Qurans, and even putting hijabs on teen girls in my school. And I reported that, and come to find out, the organization was actually connected to multiple terrorist organizations, as dubbed by the governor of Texas. And so that was very concerning. Congressman Roy reached out and asked if I could testify, and that's how it came about.
Yeah, and I mean, first of all, when I get home, Hunter, you're 16, I'm going to have to give yet another lecture to my sons. Because, man, in an age where we're told that young men and young people in general are staring at their phones and forgetting how to communicate with one another, you're not only public speaking on national television with me right now, but you are taking it direct fire from a Democrat congressman. Why? Why are you so comfortable publicly speaking?
Yes, when I was speaking to him, actually before we took off the flight, because it was less than 24 hours, my mom said, "Promise me you're not going to go viral." And I said, "I can't make any promises." And he challenged me. He called me out. He said, "Mr. Hunter-Lopez." So I took the fight, and he was obviously scared that I was going to prove him wrong, so all he could do was interrupt me.
Your mom said, "Promise me you won't go viral."
Correct, and I said, "I can't make any promises."
Yeah, well, you failed that. You failed your mother, Hunter.
I did.
Good job.
I'm sorry, Mom.
You're also unique, not just in your ability to speak publicly, but young men are a little bit more like you these days. They're showing that they are not only more conservative, but they are more religious. You see this poll. It's unfortunately gone a little bit the opposite way for women over time, but 18 to 29-year-old men it's gone up almost, 14 points in 3 years on men more religious. Now you see there women gone down 3 points. What's going on?
I don't know. I think we just got people of faith and prayer warriors need to continue praying, because obviously the men have a strong part in the household as the head of the household, but the women are the nurturers, and the women are there to have the household stand strong as well. So we need to continue to pray that women will find Christ too.
Yeah.
Wow. What an impressive young man. What an impressive young man. As Kung Fu CJ would say, to God be the glory, and may he continue to shine on this man, on this young boy right here. I loved everything that he said. I pray that God continues to protect him. I wanted to say this before I get you in here, Michelle. He is 100% correct about the American heritage. All right, folks. the founding of America, 2.5 million colonists, all right? And most of them were European Protestants, all right? We're not talking no Hindu temples, no Buddhist monasteries, no Islamic mosques, okay? Every major group was Christian. That is the American heritage. That is what the boy was trying to get Jamie Raskin to understand. It's Christian American heritage. Now we understand it's not a theocracy. We know this, but this was a Christian American heritage. And how do we know this? Because in Islam, they enslaved Africans. All right, that was the number one enslaver. People don't want to talk about that. That was the number one enslaver of Africans in the New World. Okay, 10 to 15% of slaves, who were 20% of the total population, were enslaved by Islam. All right, so that's a big difference. That's why they weren't here. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
KJ, keep bringing those facts. I love it. A lot of people don't want to hear it. They don't want to talk about it. Islamics, they enslaved white people. The ones we want to talk about being colonizers. Oh no, they came over here and tried to enslave. There were battles over this. Right. Ships were burned. There was a lot of stuff that happened that it could be an entire different story. But this young man carries himself so well. He's so poised. And again, praise God for him. He was put here right now for a reason, because of the nonsense we have. It's going to take more like him. Those statistics about men that are growing in their faith, I love that. But how sad that women, that it looked like 29% consider religion extremely or very important in their lives. Clearly not on Christian conservative, not with us in the chat. But I chalk that up to, again, this radical feminism, which is just wickedness. It's putting everything out of order, and it's taken root, and it is taught, and it is pushed on everybody, and it's used to justify, like that clip, the first clip we watched at the beginning of this show. It's used to justify not having men in the homes because I can do it all by myself. I'm strong enough to do it alone. And ladies, I say that as a woman who had a child alone. Before I found my husband. Yeah, I was, but that was not God's design. We're talking about his design. KJ is talking about how this nation was founded. Those are facts. Right. You don't have to like them, but you sure enough need to acknowledge them, because we are done changing history for your feelings. Right. You can do something with your feelings, especially if you are grown, Raskin. He needs to be able to control his feelings and his emotions, but he can't. That's why I like when that young man in the previous clip talked about how he was acting like an adult and his teachers were running away from him like children.
Yeah. Yep. He sure did say that. I mean, it's clear as day. This is why they want to dumb the young people down and get them to stop reading and stop critically thinking. It's as clear as day, folks. I mean, most of the early influences, like they were all based off of biblical, things, and I'm talking about even the Sabbath. That was included in the founding. And, when we were found, they were talk about the Sabbath laws and blasphemy statutes, Protestant moral codes. The education system was Bible-based. Come on. I mean, it's not even a question. I don't understand why this is even being questioned. Our American heritage is Christian. All right. No, we're not advocating for a theocracy, but we will acknowledge the heritage of this country and keep it alive. Keep it alive. So,
yeah, but if they can deny it, and they can, again, the revisionist series, if they can change that or change our beliefs, that's the one generation. That's what Reagan was talking about, guys. And that's what the founding fathers have talked about. There's so many leaders that have said, hey, we've got to be careful, because if they can erase, they can convince one generation that our nation wasn't that way, which they unfortunately are becoming very successful in doing. Yeah. And you see that because we see viral video clips. Ask them who fought in World War II. And these are college students, can't answer it. They can't answer who the allies are. They can't even answer who fought in the Civil War here in the United States. That should shock everyone, because the left uses the Civil War to again pretend that, you know, Republicans were not the party that actually freed the slaves, interestingly enough. Yeah, they need to change it, and they've won, I would say, and that's what they're seeing with this young man. They have captured a generation, and now the generation under them are pushing back. And this young man is the prime example of pushing back. And where, I bet you, if we were to talk to him and his family, where comes his help? His help cometh from the Lord. I bet that kind of strength, to be that calm in those situations when you are testifying. I know I've done it. KJ, have you testified on any bills or hearings? We've testified on hearings, and everybody's watching, and you know the people are in charge. It can be nerve-wracking. And I don't think that's just an inner strength that young man was so spot on. That is a gift. He was called for it, but I guarantee his strength came from God in that instance.
And I pray, and I pray more and more people wake up to this. I pray that God's Holy Spirit just spreads throughout this country and dwells in more and more Bible believing people. And that we are given, and that Holy Spirit, God gives us the courage to speak up and speak out against the lies. I truly pray, that is my prayer for everyone hearing this, and people who you guys share this with, that, you know, we become bold, we stand boldly, you know, in solidarity with the Bible, and to speak out against these lies, because that's what the left, that's what the enemy is banking on us. They're banking on our silence. They're banking on us to be ashamed, or just scared, feared into silence. And we will not, just like that young boy did. We're going to continue to speak up and speak out against it. And speaking of somebody who's doing that, Marco Rubio, guys. So we wanted to bring this to you to close out tonight. This is an extraordinary clip. So today, May 17th, is exactly 250 years ago today, the American colonies observed a national day of humiliation, fasting, and prayer. And they officially called it the Second Continental Congress. All right. So March 16th, 1776, Congress unanimously passed the resolution. This was introduced by William Livingston, recommending that Friday, May 17th, be observed throughout the colonies as a day of humiliation, fasting, and prayer. All right. And so, as we said, May 15th, 1776, George Washington issued general orders enforcing it for the Continental Army, commanding officers and soldiers to observe it piously, so God would prosper our arms and establish peace and freedom of America upon a solid and lasting foundation. That's the end quote. So this is all here. It's all here. You look it up, just like LJ said, Library of Congress. You look all this up, folks, you can find it. All right. And this is the 100% documented in the Library of Congress records, the journals of the Continental Congress, Washington's general orders, and contemporary newspapers. This is all here. This was what they wanted. Okay. And we want to share with you, before we go, this clip of Marco Rubio talking about it. This is just, it's wonderful. Before we play this, any thoughts here, Michelle, before we play this?
No, I mean, well, when Marco Rubio is a beast, and I am so impressed. You can put him anywhere at this point, and he's ready for it. So praise God for him and all of our leaders, frankly. But again, revisionist history has to be stopped. It's going to have to be stopped. at a national level, at a state level, we're gonna have to push back, because what we saw today in these clips, we have generations that are falling by the wayside. We have groups that have no fathers in the homes. We have falling under curses. We have groups that are being taught something completely untrue. You talk about untruths. The Democrats, they love untruths, half-truths. But to pretend that this nation was not founded on Christianity is a lie. Yep. It is a lie. And there is a father of all lies. It is Satan. It is an evil kind of plot, and it's real. And I think we've taken it lightly. We've sat down too long. And right now, with this 250-year anniversary of our nation, I think that's why the left is in panic mode. They're panicking because they are afraid that the third Great Awakening, I know somebody was mentioning, it might have been LJ, the first Great Awakening, the second Great, the second Great Awakening, this is a Great Awakening for patriots and for kids. And it's coming from everywhere, and from women like us and podcasts like this, that we're saying, let's get back, recognize who we were, know who we are in Christ, and fight back against what the left told us is right, because it's not. What they're showing us is right is wrong. It is wicked. And this is kind of our time. So I love this clip that we're going to watch. It's
Absolutely.
Time to remember who we are.
Absolutely. And again, they didn't build the nation on Sharia, on karma, on nirvana. You know, our founding fathers built it on the rock of Jesus Christ and biblical truth, folks. And we got to stand on it firmly as well. So take a look at this clip. I just saw in the chat. Oh, so Allie is one of our moderators. She is not feeling well, folks. She's got a migraine, and we want to pray for her, pray for healing. She's got to go to work tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I understand how it is not to feel well and you have to work. So we are praying for you, Allie. Speedy recovery, praying for this. You sleep and you wake up and you're feeling much better. Absolutely. All right. So here is the clip. Take a look here. Marco Rubio talking about our founding, because this marks the 250th anniversary of this.
On this day, 2.5 centuries ago, our forefathers gathered for the second time in as many years for a national day of fasting and prayer. The resolution of the Continental Congress called on the 13 colonies to humble themselves in preparation for the coming war, with true penitence of heart and the most reverent devotion publicly to acknowledge the overruling providence of God. In 3.5 months' time, the colonists would be in open revolt against the most powerful empire in the history of the world. Many, on both sides of the Atlantic, thought their cause was a suicide mission. The founders were not naive men. They knew their lives were on the line. That was the premise of Benjamin Franklin's dark joke after signing the Declaration of Independence, where he said, "We must indeed all hang together, or most assuredly, we shall all hang separately." They had no guarantees of victory. They knew that what they were trying to do had never been done before in human history. But with the dark storm clouds of war looming on the horizon, they did what Christians have always done, across place and time for 2,000 years. They turned their eyes to heaven and placed their fate in the hands of God. It is no coincidence that America, from the very beginning, has occupied a unique and exceptional place in world history. Before the Christian West, most societies, and civilizations for that matter, thought in stagnant cycles: the flooding of the Nile, the return of the rains, the cycle of the harvest. History for them was a wheel to nowhere. It turned and turned only to end up back where it began. But our faith calls us outwards into the limitless darkness of the unknown. It tells us to go forth and preach the gospel to the world as a witness unto all nations, unto the ends of the earth. From that command came America. Our nation, more than any other in history, was shaped by this Christian idea. We saw it at work already in 1630, more than a century before the Revolution, when John Winthrop stood on the deck of the Arabella in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and preached a sermon to his fellow Puritan colonists. "We shall be as a city upon a hill," he told them. "The eyes of all people are upon us." That same faith pushed America further to new frontiers. It was the engine of westward expansion. Who will respond to the call from beyond the Rocky Mountains, one reverend wrote in a public message to the American churches in 1833, calling for a wave of missionaries to leave the comforts of civilization and spread the gospel in the wilderness. Television audience in the history of the world up to that point. And what did they say? They opened the book of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Wow.
This is who we are. It is who we have always been. America is still a young nation measured against the record of history. And from the beginning, we have carried the belief that our country represents something new in the world. But the soul of our nation has always been rooted in an ancient faith.
Yep. Through Jesus Christ. Absolutely.
Better love that flag. I love that flag. Nice on Sunday.
This is Christian Conservative. I'm KJ with Michelle Talkington.